Into Tupac, man, Tony Yayo just went on Drink Champs. What was that? Earlier this week or last week or something? And he was he was going in on the notion. I think it's the tone for me, and I always talk about tone, right? He asked DJ EFN who was his favorite rapper, and he said Ice Cube from the West Coast, and that's a great pick. And Tony Yayo's laughing it off like Cube is not a worthy, you know what I'm saying, type of MC up against somebody like a Biggie.
The disrespect is high.
The disrespect is high. And I think this is a transition from Pac because you and I were having a whole discussion about, you know, Pac and Cube, and that's actually a formidable debate. You know why? Because Pac actually has a bunch of albums. Now, I've been on record to say on this show that I think if Big would have lived and continued the course that he was on, it's no doubt in my mind that he would have possibly been the greatest MC ever. But again, that was before this recent Nas run, so I don't know. That changes things. I do think that from a skill set standpoint, Big had a lot of tools early on, right? And I also say that no one in music, maybe with the exception of Jimi Hendrix or somebody, did more with 2 albums than Big did. But even with that being said, you're not going to be put above somebody with a catalog and longevity like an Ice Cube with 2 albums. It's just impossible. You can't. Now, I'm not saying that Big can't be ahead of certain people with 2 albums because, yeah, he's one of the few guys with 2 albums. We got 20-plus joints that we're going to hear forever. That's how excellent his work was. But if you're talking about somebody like Cube, who's been here since '88, who's the author of Gangsta Rap, who is the writer for Straight Outta Compton, you know what I'm saying, who's the writer for Easy Does It, and then has America's Most, Kill It Will, Death Certificate, The Predator, on and on. No. And like his son said, like Cube's son said, life after death is pretty much molded around Death Certificate. You got the life side and the death side. He said, don't believe me, ask Puff, because I'm sure Puff probably told his son that. I mean, it is what it is.
I thought it was Ice Cube himself that said that.
No, that was his son that said that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, on our list, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
we have Ice Cube at 4.
Okay.
We got Biggie at 6. And I think that's wonderful for Big.
It is.
That he's that high. It really speaks to his greatness.
Exactly.
But he's not better than Ice Cube all time. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's like for me, I have to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Because I listened to Death Certificate from beginning to end today. And it's probably been about a year since I have. Biggie just doesn't talk about the plight of black people and social issues and social construction and deconstruction the way Ice Cube does. He doesn't talk about project life the way Ice Cube does. And the rhetoric that Biggie spits, although it's wonderfully woven and creative and it's all the things and his pictures hanging on my wall still, it's not as important as the shit that Ice Cube been putting down from day one, Mike. I'm sorry.
It's true.
And if you think so, you're just sadly mistaken. Now, if you think Biggie has a better voice or is a better verbalist or wordsmith or is a better songwriter,
yeah,
like you can think those things, but don't think that he's greater all time, because it's like you can't kick that pro-black shit that a lot of us kick and tell me why you would have Biggie ahead of Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying?
Very well said.
Like you can, but just don't kick that shit to me. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? It's funny you say that because my mind didn't even go there, but you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Why
does Biggie have a more important record than Fuck the Police?
But it's the consistent, like, Death Certificate is a master class on social black rhetoric in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
I told you, when I listened to it today, I was like, oh shit. I was like, the only album that I can think of that is more important than this is It Takes a Nation.
Yeah.
That includes Over to Pimp a Butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Because...
Well, I mean, we were very vocal on the disrespect of having Kendrick ahead of Ice Cube. That's fucking insane. Kendrick Lamar himself will tell you he's not over
listening to Death
Ice
Certificate,
Cube.
Mike, it sounds even more insane today.
Yeah.
It's very much It Takes a Nation of Millions West.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Or America's Most West, however you want to juxtapose it. But it's, I mean, Mike,
Well, speaking of which, you want to hear what Chuck D had to say about
I think
this?
no. I was just thinking today, Mike.
Mhm.
It's like no, we have Death Certificate way too low. It could be a top 10 album maybe, and it's probably definitely top 15.
I'm with that. You
And
know
it's
I'm a big Death Certificate
and it's
fan.
more consistent beginning to end than Life After Death too, Mike. It is.
I never thought I would hear you say that.
It is. It's more consistent beginning and end. Life After Death has better moments in terms of the highs,
Mhm.
but in the end, it's not as consistently marvelous.
This is what Chuck D had to say about this debate.
It's
actually.
a wonderful album, Mike.
It is. It's personally one of my favorites. And again, I think that, some of that rhetoric that's on that album, I love. And so when we're talking about all-time ranking, I think that sometimes I try to be as objective as possible. And certain albums and certain artists are so close to me that I might be finding a way to be difficult. I mean, I might find it difficult,
Right.
to be objective. And I think Death Certificate's one of those. Like, I never rank Chuck D normally because it's like I don't know how to. I don't know how to be objective when it comes to certain people.
Right.
But this is what Chuck said about this debate. Chuck D from New York, Long Island, Strong Island.
Yeah.
He says, Yayo has NYC regional taste. That's what he said.
Oh.
And art is subjective. Everybody got an opinion, but Ice Cube single-handedly glued Coast. A difficult thing to do, unprecedented in fact, in a dominant way.
Fascinating.
And that's when O'Shea Jr. said, people know who my GOAT is. It's not fair to even ask me, but I will say Life After Death's whole concept is from Death Certificate. Ask Diddy if you think I'm lying. And it's all love at the end of the day. Both things well said.
It is all love, but
we got to keep history right.
And I think we have some more East Coast bias going on because here's the reality of the matter. Ice Cube's arguably a top 3 MC all time.
Mm-hmm.
He's right there. I mean, after Nas and Jay, you could have Tupac, Ice Cube, Rakim, and it would make perfect sense. He belongs right there.
I'm going to ask you something, and I was talking to somebody earlier. We was talking about Cube and his whole legacy, and they brought up something that made a lot of sense, and I never thought about it in this way. Is Cube the first MC to leave a group? Not only just leave a group and become a star on your own, I think he might be the first MC to really leave a group, period, and go solo in hip-hop.
I never thought about that.
Interesting,
no,
right?
No.
Who we got?
Kool Moe Dee.
Okay. Treacherous
3.
Okay.
Then Kool Moe Dee went solo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We got Kool Moe Dee.
So Kool Moe Dee would be the guy.
Okay. And then Cube.
And then Cube, I think.
Leaving a group at the group's height, though. We've never seen anything like that.
I mean, like I said, Mike, he was the social commentary of the group, though it really wasn't like it wasn't NWA after he left anyway. They wasn't niggas with attitudes anymore. They was just niggas.
It's just niggas. Brian with the super chat says, Coop, I understand what you're saying, but most people say Bonds Over Bad Dad is classic. Oh, no, not Bonds Over Bad Dad. What I'm talking about, Black on Both Sides is classic. Nobody is going to look back at Thug's album in 10 years and say it's classic. Do we say, hold
They said that when Future first came out, Mike.
Let's keep it all the way a buck, guys. Do we view Black on Both Sides that highly because most never gave us anything anymore after that? Is that what that's more so about, or is that about the album itself? I feel like the Black on Both Sides talk and the Black Star talk is more so about the artist and not the actual album. Because I'll be the first to tell you if an album is just straight up and down that. You know what I mean? I was over here caping for Main Ingredient the other day. Black on Both Sides has its moments, and we know Most has that level of potential, and I know we miss hearing Most rap like that ever again or whatever, but Black on Both Sides, the album, is not everything y'all are saying it is. It's the artist that you love.
It's not, and people need to stop.
Yeah.
Stop it.
It's kind of some capital punishment stuff, in my opinion. It's because of puns. You know, we know what pun can do, and we never got it again.
I think Capital Punishment's better than Black on Both Sides.
I'm not mad at that. I can agree with that.
There are better songs on there from beginning to end. He's got Dream Shatterer. He's got Super Lyrical.
Yeah.
He's got the original Still Not a Player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's got a You Came Up. He's got the Triple Sace joint with Deck and Prodigy. No, that shit's like that. Capital Punishment is like that. It's
Yeah.
like that was something that was a 4 when it came out. That if you wanted to give it a little extra higher now, tell me it's like a 4.25. Yeah,
We're talking. I mean, that's 99 and
and I
98.
don't prefer Pun the most. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm the same boat. I prefer Most over Pun. I think Capital Punishment's the better album.
Cause it is.
I think Moment of Truth is better than both albums.
Cause it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's clearly better than both of those albums.
and I've told you on this show, Train of Thought is better than Black on Both Sides to me.
And I used to think that you were tripping, but I hear some of what you're saying when you say it. Like some of what you're, like the consistency, because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Moses' project, it shows those flashes of like brilliance. It says he could be one of the most talented to ever do it, but there's also moments where you're like, eh.
The biggest reason I say Train of Thought is better, and no disrespect to Talib because he did his thing on the album, is High Tech. The consistency of the production and what High Tech was able to do on that album in the end, I think trumps the production that's on Black on Both Sides.
I can agree with that actually in hindsight, Mike. I may not have felt that way when it first came out, but I probably would agree with you more now.
I think the Blast, Blast and Miss Fat Booty, that's a tough one.
I actually would take the Blast, Mike.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at that. That's a tough one, though. Esquire with the super chat says, so by the black rhetoric logic, why should Jay rank higher than Scarface or KRS-One? I personally rank Biggie higher than Cube, but they're both top 10. Again, when we talk about Biggie, all of it seems to be vacuum talk. You know what I'm saying? We're grading Biggie from a vacuum lens. To say that you have Biggie over Cube, what exactly does Biggie do or has he done over a duration of time that would make you feel like he's deserving of a spot over Cube?
I want to, whoever,
That was Esquire.
I thought of Jay today too. And here's the thing that people have to understand about Jay. Jay's always been insightful.
Mm-hmm. Always. And they try to narrow it down to 444, and that's not the truth. That's why we're not fascinated about 444. We're not fascinated about 444 like everybody else.
This guy is insightful.
Exactly.
So this is what I'm saying. Biggie's project stories are personal.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Everyday struggles personal. You know what I mean? When Jay is having street rhetoric and street talk, it's something almost like a teaching moment, if that makes sense. That's why I love Imaginary Players so much. It's like, no, I didn't know what he was talking about until I had money. You know what I mean? And this is what I mean. And this is no disrespect even to Big. Jay is probably the only other guy that I heard other than Pac where the stuff that he would say in between the records or before the record or after the record sometimes was just as important as the stuff he was saying on the record and help connect the record.
Yeah.
So his street rhetoric is very, very insightful. What the hell do you think Friend or Foe is?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? What do you think The Evils is?
Exactly.
What do you think these records are? Mike, even at the end of Rhyme No More, me and my homies started out code these. Use the mailbox lock, cause I ain't have no key. Had the chain with the anchor when Jazz made Sophie. Then I went low key, but now I'm back. It's on, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
Exactly.
So he's always been insightful. He's just always, Mike, he's always been a hustler and a baller too. So he's the guy that just got insightful about that. I was wearing all this platinum when all y'all chicks thought it was silver and shit. Popping that Cristal when y'all niggas thought it was beer and shit. He's always been insightful. It's just the rhetoric that he's insightful about that you don't know. And I hate to say it like this. Well, you might not have ever had money because it's like the more money you get, the more you understand how insightful Jay is. I told you that manicure on a plane shit changed my life. I was like, you can get manicures on a plane, nigga? I said, this nigga going to jail.
Well, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of deduced the fact that, you know, Conversational Jay, you know, I feel like Conversational Jay is the best Jay. That's Jay at his best. Nobody does conversational rap like Jay does. But you know where that comes from? That's that Iceberg Slim shit. Like, this nigga is a nice MC who, he got some pimp talk in him. He got pimp bones in his body. And he's talking like stuff like Imaginary Player and, you know, some of the insightful
Cashmere
stuff.
Thoughts.
He's talking to you like a pimp would. Like, he giving you direction.
When I
And
drop the subject, verb, and the predicate
Yeah.
for this rich nigga rhetoric.
Exactly. And that's where that elegant talk comes from.
Yeah, I'm solid gold. I rap like a mink stole. I stick pearl tongues your world will never know. From
Yeah.
New York to Paris, the vocal style vary. From nice to deadly, like a bad bag of D. See how he gets insightful with who he is still?
Exactly.
He's always been insightful. People like, oh, Jay's being insightful on 4 for 4. I'm like, nigga, have you not been? Mike.
Even, damn, you fading him, ho. How you gave him that?
Listen.
That's that pimp talk.
I told you, Mike, I didn't understand Can I Live till I was in Vegas at the tables.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, meet me by the tables that start a G up. This way no fraud willies pressing, gambling they re-up. And we can have a pleasant time sipping margaritas.
I feel like Jay has a level of consciousness to
It's
him.
very insightful.
Big does not. He did not. I think he would have at some point, but he didn't live long enough to even have that.
Big just don't talk that way.
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
trying
the
to say.
separation from him and Pac anyway.
And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Like, Big can still be who Big is and be great at all the things, but he's not like, yeah, Jay's insightful. And it just maybe he relates more to certain people that have had certain type of money, certain type of influence, understand certain things. You know what I mean? He does appeal to the pimps and the players and the hustlers and the dudes with money.
Yeah.
And
that's his lane.
And he's never
he chose that.
He's unabashed about that.
Yeah.
But he's also great at it, Mike.
And he's actually done some, I don't want to say conscious records, but you could tell he knows what's going on.
Mike,
too.
I didn't know what the difference was between a 4.0 and a 4.6 until he told me.
Yeah.
I was like, it costs that much more? I was like, hold on. I'm like, the 4.0 don't got leather? That's a ripoff.
Brian with the super chat says, poll it. Is Black on Both Sides a classic? Yes or no? We'll poll it. I'm sure people will say yeah. But again, man, this is what you need to do, Brian. Line up Black on Both Sides with other classics.
How about this? Something like Hell on Earth by Mobb Deep is better than Black on Both Sides. Black on Both Sides ain't fucking with Hell on Earth by Mobb Deep.
You want to go track for track with those?
Pull it up.
Yeah, I think that'd be a problem for Black on Both Sides.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
you want to pull it up?
We did ATLians in Hell on Earth on the Patreon. ATLians got that work.
Now, dudes outside of New York don't be running around calling Hell on Earth no classic.
Right.
Not like that.
But you know why?
It is.
Because they got the infamous. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like,
you don't even want to go to the infamous.
Yeah, we want to sit here and give Black on Both Sides extra points because we never got another Mos Def album like in that vein, rather. He never had an opportunity to, well, he had an opportunity, but he never actually gave the fans something that was a level up from that.
Ain't nobody
so we just hang on to that.
And nobody's walking around thinking that Black on Both Sides is even the level of, Mike, it's not even Iron Man.
And the other part of it, Coop, it came out in a weak year. Because honestly, outside of 2001, what 99 looked like?
How about this? Put it up against Things Fall Apart.
Yeah. Leroy Green with the super chat says, it's not that Jay was just insightful. It's the fact that Jay centered an album around his family. How many rappers never mention their wives and kids? I'm respectfully, Leroy Green, I don't give a fuck about that, man. If the music is banging, it's banging, man. Like,
trying to hear that.
Niggas could talk about taking their kid to soccer practice if that shit's hard. Like, I'm not gonna.
You did a dope record called Soccer Dad last year. Was that last year? Or was that 2 years ago?
That wasn't last year. It was like a couple years ago. But yeah,
it was dope.
Yeah, it was dope. The thing is, man, I'm not gonna sit here and listen to 444 and make myself like it because of what he's talking about, because he's attempting to talk about his wife and kids. That's cool and all. And I respect that. That doesn't mean I want to listen to it. Respectfully.
I mean, well, Mike, you've been consistent about that when it comes to guys that's not Jay. And so that's just really you being consistent with the music that you like and your musical taste too.
Yeah, we getting echo. What were you about to say?
No. That was it. You've just been consistent about those, you know, those things.
I mean, yeah, it's about the music. I see what Leroy Green's talking about and what people do a lot is niggas give extra points for who made the song. I don't care who made the song.
Right.
I'm listening to the song. Like Puff said, press play. I press play. I don't care who made the record. Is the shit dope or not?
How about this? You think I would use Daughters by Nas like in a versus battle versus Jay?
No, but it's a dope record.
Exactly. Using that. I ain't using that record.
Yeah.
I'm going to do with that.
Yeah. Are we going to sit here and say, you know what? In a matchup, let me play this because this was a nice record that he did for his daughter.
You're going to be like, Coop, thanks for that easy victory.
Right. Boom. I don't even have to use you don't know on that. Esquire with the super chat says, Detailed insight about luxury isn't black rhetoric. But
It
see,
is, unfortunately, whether you like it or not. That's what I'm trying to tell people. It's like, since when? It's like how Pimp C start off. Fuck with me.
fuck with me, you know I got it.
A year ago, I was in bondage.
Yeah.
Now I'm back out here.
Yeah.
Living life for all the things, see the things they understand. Why these niggas like shiny things? Because we really come from kings
Mm-hmm.
and really originated from Africa.
Yeah. Because the thing is,
Like, hold on, is that not true though?
it's true.
Do we not come from kings?
Yeah.
Do we not come from kings that like shiny things? So this rich nigga rhetoric is part of who we are too. See, we try to let this white society that we grew up in dispose us of that. No. It's okay to like nice shit and have nice shit. And I'm sick of black people and people in religious circles not thinking that it's okay. Because if you believe in the God that I was just telling somebody the other day, oh, no. God gave David and Solomon all the riches. They black as hell. All right? They ran kingdoms, gold everywhere. Mansa Musa is the richest man this world ever seen. That's a black man. He literally used to throw gold on the Silk Road when he would travel.
And that's what made people come down to Africa and find out
That's what made the
elements they had.
Thank
down
you.
there.
That's what made the Silk Road even come to Africa.
Yeah.
Mansa Musa's the Silk Road even extended itself. They're like, this nigga got money.
Yep.
He out here balling.
Let's go down there and see what resources they got.
We've been balling from the jump. So respectfully, whoever said they don't know what the hell they talking about.
That was Esquire again. Zuri with the super
Esquire,
chat
you
says,
bugging, fam. We got a lawyer talking about how.
But see, this is my thing is you're sitting here limiting Jay to that, Esquire. Like, Jay has spoken about so much stuff in his career. Big didn't. And I mean,
he didn't get an opportunity
He didn't get an
to.
opportunity
But
to.
that's not Jay's fault.
Exactly. We can't sit here and line Jay and Big up like Jay has the same limitations Big has subject matter wise because he has more.
I love Big. Big don't really have no streets is watching. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I mean, because Jay thinks about things differently because he really did live this lifestyle on a certain level. If I shoot you, I'm brainless. But if you shoot me, you're famous. What's a nigga to do?
That's
when
insightful.
the streets is watching, blocks keep clocking, waiting for you to break, make your first mistake, can't afford it. That's the fastest way to get extorted. My time is money. In 25, I can't afford it. That's not insightful to you?
Right.
Stop that.
Exactly. Zuri with the super chat says the closest thing to consciousness that Biggie has ever done is things done change.
I was thinking everyday struggle. Like to me, everyday struggle would be his version of the evils, except for Jay has other spin-offs of the evils. He has friend or foe.
Yeah.
He has imaginary player. He has streets is watching. He has You Must Love Me.
He does.
Yeah.
And not to mention regrets.
Where I'm From is a whole insightful song about growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're 4 feet or minutes size, it always starts out with 3 dice and shoot the 5. Niggas thought they deuce was live, so I hit them with trips. Then I reach down for their money. Paul, forget about this. This time it's platinum, like the shit on my wrist. And this Glock on my waist, y'all can't do shit about this. Niggas will show you love. That's how they fool thugs. Before you know it, you're lying in a pool of blood. That's not insightful to you?
Right.
I'm from where niggas pull your card and argue all day about who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. That's not insightful? That's not what dudes on the block is talking. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
He's saying insightful stuff that you can relate to. That's why we all related to him to the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you don't like the money talk because maybe, you know what I'm saying, your money might not be like that. It's like, but I never took it that way. He's always been insightful. It's why I have him so high, Mike. You can't find anybody more insightful than him that's not maybe Nas.
Yeah. John Wayne with the super chat says, Jay-Z has pro-black rhetoric. He's actually more radical. Do you fools listen to music or do you just skim through it? A lot of 5% rhetoric. Exactly. I was thinking that too. We got a couple of more super chats. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Mike, I thought KD3 was the bar for 2023. Now it was 2022.
We're in 2023 now.
Yeah.
Why would we have a bar for
an album from last year? All right, Esquire with the super chat says, I don't disagree, but if that's what qualifies as black rhetoric, Biggie has plenty. Ain't nothing changed except for the number after the range.
Yeah, that's where Jay got that from.
Yeah. Leroy Green with the super chat.
But that's what I'm saying. Think about it. Jay made a whole Song about it.
Mhm.
Biggie had flip a couple. Okay, so one of Biggie's talents.
Made a hot line or made a hot song.
Well, Biggie will say 3 or 4 hot bars, and then he'll flip into a different topic for another 3 or 4 bars. Now that's a gift. But Jay got whole full-fledged songs where he's just like digging into these interwoven street concepts. It's different. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, how about this? Biggie needed more stuff like 10 Crack Commandments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Again, man, Biggie just needed more stuff, period. I think
Right.
I think it's slightly disrespectful to the people who do have that level of longevity to say that someone's 3-year run trumps their
great
30-year career.
It's a great run, but no.
Yeah, it's an incredible run, but it's unfair.
It's unfair.
It really is. And to sit here and act like Cube's not even qualified to be in this conversation is fucking wild to me.
If Big was here, he'd tell you that's wild. He looked up the Ice Cube.
They all did. You know what I'm saying? Like we talk about that period.
Big and Puff watch the West Coast as closely as any East Coast dudes did.
Exactly.
Because it's all over the fabrics of Big's 2 albums.
That that little, I guess we would say, valley between the Rakim, Kane, KRS guys in the 80s and Nas, Big, Pac in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That pocket in between that, Cube's the guy. Period. Like that transitional period between the 80s and the 90s, like 90, 91, 92, Cube is the best rapper in the game.
I think he's the best. Mike, when did Death Certificate come out?
That's 92.
What year? I mean, what month though?
Ah, shit. Off top, I don't know what month. I want to say that might have been in the summer or something.
Because here's what I tell you. Well, hold on. When is Kill at Will then?
Kill at Will is around 91, I believe. Leroy Green with the super chat says hip hop, love, Miss Fat Booty, Speed Law, Umi says, New World Water, Mr. Nigger, Mathematics. Come on, Coop. Black on Both Sides was dope. Nobody's saying it's not dope. But let's just be real. I like the hip hop song. I like the love song. Speed Law's cool. New World Water, but come on, man. We talking about classic now?
You gotta stop that.
Come on, guys. We got to be fair here. We giving extra points because of who making the records.
Right. That's okay. So America's Most is May of 90. Death Certificate is October 29th of 91.
Okay.
The Predator is November of 92. Lethal Injection is December of 93. I mean, Mike, I'd tell you he's the best rapper from 90 to 93.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's very Rakim liked to be the best rapper that long.
Right.
Because Rakim was pretty much the best rapper from about 86, 87 to 90.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Very similar.
So, yeah. I mean,
while they're right next to each other on our list.
Who's better than Cube in that time period, guys? The only person you could possibly come up with is maybe Redman. And he's not.
Ain't none of
and
Redman's
I love
album
Redman.
fucking with America's Most or Death Certificate. Nah. I'm sorry. It's not even.
It's not. And I love Redman.
I love Redman. Yep.
Esquire with the super chat says, I know Jay is insightful, but the examples you're giving are directly attributed to Big, too. Things done change, everyday struggle, suicidal thoughts. I got you, Esquire, but my argument here.
No, it's not. That's not even. That's
he
not
ain't got enough still.
No, but Rhyme No More is not based on Jay. I mean, not based on Big. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can I Live's not based on Big.
Yeah.
The Evils ain't based on Big. No. Imaginary Players is the only one where he actually took something from Big and like flipped it like song-wise into something that insightful. Streets is Watching didn't come from Big.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's a totally inaccurate statement by Esquire. I'm kind of surprised, Esquire, you're a little bit more astute than that. That was a nice try. You tried it.
Esquire is trying to find a way to put Biggie ahead of Cube.
No, it's not happening.
And again, I feel like this is some Derek Jeter shit. And I think Derek Jeter's a very good baseball player, by the way. But I think the fact that he played in New York gave him extra points in the media. And I think that when it comes to Big being from Brooklyn really helps in this overall legacy talk. He's not better than Cube. I mean, he might have more tools in his lyrical arsenal than Cube, you know, from a technical standpoint.
Right.
But if we're talking about the resume, Cube did write straight out of Compton.
I've said this before. It's
Easy does it.
Well, David Ruffin's a better singer than Marvin Gaye, but don't nobody think David Ruffin's better all time over Marvin Gaye.
You can't prove it.
You can't prove it.
Like I said about the Rihanna-Beyonce thing. You think Rihanna's better than Beyonce? Prove it. Prove it on the stage. How are you gonna prove that Big
Oh, you
is
said
better?
on the stage.
Yeah, you can't.
Unless
Unless you're gonna tell me Rihanna wrote all her songs.
As soon as you said stage, the conversation was over.
Yeah, I mean, if Big is better than Cube, let's pull out the resumes and prove it.
Because this is what people have to understand about Jay being insightful on a certain level. It's like, well, Jay has records that you could put next to these Ice Cube records because of the insightful nature of them.
Yeah.
Big doesn't have that. So some of these records just make it seem like Big's only concerned with flossing.
Yeah.
It can look like that against an Ice Cube.
It can.
Because of the depth of what he's saying. Because here's what people are forgetting. It's like, what does Biggie have for a bird in the hand? Or Uncle Sam? Or Black Korea? Like, what is he going to do to combat that?
He's not raging against the machine.
Right.
On none of his music.
Right. It's hard to beat, much like It Takes a Nation of Millions. Like, think about it. I had Eric B. and Rakim, and I was struggling with Public Enemy.
This is what I'll say, though.
Because when you do that Rage Against the Machine music in hip-hop, and you do it at the level that Death Certificate is and America's Most is, no, that's just hard to fucking beat. Just like It Takes a Nation of Millions is hard to beat, Mike. It's hard to beat that because the rhetoric is so strong and so important. It's where the writing really matters in terms of the content.
This is what I want to say to Esquire, too. Hip-hop is, anti-establishment.
It ain't nobody.
And whatever you want to say about Jay, you can hear anti-establishment talk in his music.
How about this?
Even on Izzo, even on records like that, where he's I'm overcharging niggas for what they did to the Cold Crush.
If you actually look at our top 5 MCs, they're all anti-establishment.
Yeah, I do this for my culture.
Nas, Jay, Pac, Ice Cube, Rakim. Those are not establishment guys.
I do this for my culture. Let them know what a nigga look like when a nigga rent a roaster. Show them how to move in a room full of vultures. Industry is shady. It need to be taken over. Label owners hate me. I'm raising the status quo up. I'm overcharging niggas for what they did to the Cold Crush. Pay us like you owe us for all the years that you hold us. Does Biggie have any talk like that?
No.
He doesn't. We're not making this up.
We're not making it up.
And maybe if he would have lived on, maybe he would have developed that. But he didn't have that.
He didn't. It just is
Cube
what it
has
is.
too much of that.
That's what I'm saying. Cube got so much of that. How about this? If this is anti-establishment music, like if rap is really rebel music, how can you not have Ice Cube in your top 5?
Exactly.
Because who, for one, has the solo catalog that says it, has the embodiment of it in his real life works, Mike. Like, think about how much Ice Cube would be worth had he given into the establishment.
Yeah.
Think about it. And when I heard Death Certificate today, I just realized it's like, oh, this nigga been on this soapbox and has not stepped down
30 years.
And has not stepped the
30
fuck
plus.
down off the soapbox yet.
Yeah. Doubling down. And 35 years later.
How can you not stand up and applaud that?
Yeah. I think that's why he's one of my favorite rappers, if not my favorite.
I mean, he was always high on my list, Mike, like outside my top 5 personally, but always like, in my top 10. And it's like his stock just went up for me because I thought about some guys that I love, like Ray and Ghost. It's like, no, Ray and Ghost not better than Ice Cube, Mike.
He's too important.
He's too important. The stuff that he putting down is too important. And the stuff that he's doing by backing it up in real life
is even more.
And then I thought about it. He's talking shit on No Vaseline, Mike, about starting his own company. That's 1991. He's like, yeah, you niggas mad because I got my own company. I was like, thinking like, man, this nigga bossed up so long ago.
So long ago.
Like, he made an album, bossed up, and been bossing up ever since. And it's not back down. You understand that what he struggles with in business is because of the rhetoric on America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate, and he's never apologized for it.
No.
And he's not about to.
He's
now.
always figuring out a way to get
he's
it
like,
done
I'm going to work it.
regardless.
I'm going to make it work regardless, but I'm not apologizing.
I don't know if you saw his Breakfast Club interview, but
I didn't.
So, Charlamagne was asking, I guess what role his wife plays in his life or whatever. And, he was like, yeah, she's huge, obviously, as his wife. She's a part of everything. But one of the things that he said that I took away from that was when he said, when I left NWA, she was the one that, co-signed that I should leave. Because everybody else was like, yo, man, you got to stay with them. NWA's like, on top of the
He's
world.
selling 3 million
Yeah,
records and
exactly.
going around the world.
She was like,
They're
you
stars.
the one that everybody like anyway. So, and he went off and did his solo thing.
She was right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that level of insight and the fact that he jumped out of the biggest group ever, I mean, in rap at the time, and did it on his own.
They were going to go on and be the biggest rap group ever with him. With him,
You're
they're
right.
the best. With him, they're the best rap group of all time.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, the only other example we had of this was Cool Mo D and Treacherous 3. So he's kind of jumping out into uncharted waters. It really hadn't happened on a large level before. And then he went and did it with Priority. Like, the shit's insane.
It's 1990.
In 1990. We can't erase that.
And and I'll also tell you this, and then we can kind of go on to a next topic unless you have some more Ice Cube you want to talk about, because we could do a show like this.
Yeah.
I've always said the Ether is the best diss record of all time.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. Like, when I listen to No Vaseline, I'm like, man, it's not that everybody caught a body, Mike. It's that, like, he buried him alive. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like, there are moments when I listen to Ether and I can look back at it and it's kind of funny now.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Takeover. It's like, oh, it was kind of cool watching them spar and like dish like this.
Right.
There's something about Ice Cube's No Vaseline, Mike, that is still like fierce in a battle rap sense to this day, of just like going for somebody's jugular and just like Mike, he ripped them apart. He did end the group. He ended NWA.
It's vicious, man. Like he said in the Who Kid interview we were just watching before we got on, Who Kid showed him this list. I forgot who made the list, but they had No Vaseline at number 3. And Cube's like, who they got ahead of me on this? And they had Hit 'Em Up, and it was Ether ahead of it. He's like,
Hit 'Em Up don't even.
He was like, Hit 'Em Up. He was like, Pac had a lot, the Outlaws are on there. And I've always felt like that about Hit 'Em Up as well. Like, I can't really give it what people give it because Pac just got like one verse and he passes it off.
That record's not good, Mike. I'm sorry. Hit 'Em Up is not a good record. It's not a top 30 Tupac song. Maybe not even top 40 in his catalog. Seriously. And I get so tired of people overrating that song. The beat's not that great. Rhyme-wise, he literally has hundreds of rhymes better than that rhyme. He's got hundreds of song concepts better than this concept. Mike, like, he's got records that have never been released. Like, I wonder if Heaven Got a Ghetto that's better than Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah.
Like, stop with the Hit 'Em Up talk. It's not a dope record, Mike. It's just okay.
One thing the Cube
definitely
did
ain't no top 5 diss record. Definitely ain't no top 10 diss record, Mike. It might not even be top 20 in my book. The shit just okay. It's a fucking B-side to How Do You Want It.
Yeah.
That ain't no great diss record. Great diss records don't end up on the B-side of like platinum selling singles and shit.
It's memorable.
They tend to stand on their own. It's a fucking memorable B-side to How Do You Want It.
I think the rant's more memorable than most of the songs.
That's what I'm saying. It ain't. That's what I mean. It ain't even about the song. The song itself is not that good. Stop with that Hit 'Em Up shit.
But yeah, Cube was like, No Vaseline, I don't even think NWA made a song after No Vaseline. He literally ended the world's most dangerous group. And he did it on an album where, like you said, Death Certificate's not even about them. America's Most, 5 mic album, the Source gave it a 5 mic out the gate. He didn't say anything about NWA on there.
Just made a great album.
He went the whole way of Death Certificate, did the same thing. And it's like at the end, like, oh, wait, thought it was over? It ain't over, motherfuckers. And then, boom. I think it's the most impressive diss record ever. And I've always had it ahead of Ether because of, I just think it's a better song. I've never been a big fan of Ether's beat. I think that Nas is the shining thing when it comes to Ether. I think that the fact that he's going up against somebody like Jay, who is at the height of his career at the time, and just being the ultimate underdog somehow, if you can even imagine Nas being an underdog, but he had the machine against him. So I give Ether big props for that. No Vaseline, though, it's inventive in a way where he took these guys apart verse for verse. I always ask, like, who you think got it the worst on that song? I think Ren might have gotten it the worst on that song.
I'm going to tell you who got it the worst. Actually, first of all, I'll agree with you in saying that it's like degree of difficulty goes to Nas for Ether, because who Jay was at the time that Ether dropped. And Ether's a great record. I also agree with you about the beat.
Yeah.
The beat's not all that the shining moment of Ether. I'm telling you.
But maybe that was by design. He's like, listen, I want you to hear what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm telling you, the shining moment of Ether is still that hook, in my opinion. For me personally, in the Tupac intro. Like, you know what I mean? The intangible things. Together. Very, very excellent. Excellent, well put together. And don't tell me Ron Brown's put that together. You know what I mean? That's Nas knowing his history. You know what I'm saying? And knowing his Tupac stuff because he's a big Tupac fan. And the whole hook thing. Dr. Dre called it the worst on No Vaseline. Because the reason the NWA really didn't exist anymore is because when Dre heard that shit, he knew it was true. And that's what prompted Dre to start his shit. And that's why Dre called it the worst, because Dre's the one that got hurt the most by it.
Try to sound like America's most. You can yell all you want, but you never come close. Well, he was like, man, he ran 100 miles, but you still got one to go.
You ran 99 miles, but you still got one to go. Yeah.
Hold on.
Hey, Dre, stick to producing.
Hold on. I think I missed some of these super chats. Let me get back to this real quick.
Man, true to the game, steady mobbing, a bird in hand. Nigga, you love to hate. No, hold on. Yeah?
Nigga, you love to hate's crazy. AB Studios with the super chat says, fake Basquiat politically correct Jay is no better than 90s 2001 Jay. The Jay, that Jay is long gone. From fake selling 444 to forgettable everything is love. LP with the super chat says, want to argue that Cube got a better catalog. Cool. But if we're saying who's a better rapper it's not even close. We knocking Big for getting killed. If we want to say who's a better rapper, would you say the Lupe Fiasco is more lyrically skilled than Biggie? If we want to start playing that game.
That's what I'm saying. Don't play those games.
Yeah. Does Biggie have a mural in his catalog? If we want to do that.
Biggie don't even have a Dumb It Down.
Yeah. If we want to do that. If we want to start pulling out who's the better technical rapper and shit, we can do a whole lot of stuff.
I know when I listen to Big, I hear somebody that is quote unquote a better MC than Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? Based on what you hear, it's almost like that eye test thing.
Right.
But it's like, you do understand that Ice Cube passes the eye test too, and he produces more.
Yeah.
And we can't, here's the thing about it, that people need to understand. Well, we can't knock Big for passing away, but we can't continue to hold the other guys who didn't hostage because Big passed away.
Exactly.
It's not fair to Ice Cube.
It's not fair. You know, I've been doing my
And I hate to be the one to break it to people. America's Most in Death Certificate, even if you do want to cut it off, to competes with Ready to Die and Life After Death, it maybe beats them. So people need to be careful about what they're saying too, because if you just want to go for a 2-album run, it's like, no, there's a lot of people competing with Big on 2 albums run.
Yeah.
Illmatic, It Was Written, Follow the Leader, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em. Ice Cube with America's Most in Death Certificate. Stop acting like Big is untouchable.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg on the Chronic and Doggy Style. No, guys have been on 2 albums and sounded just as great as Big has.
Listen, man, I've been doing a deep dig on Jimi Hendrix, and I'm just fascinated in the sense that...
Why, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, I just
curious.
Was listening to Voodoo Child, and I'm sitting here like, yo, man, this sounds like rock music that I was listening to in the 80s, 90s. Like, this nigga was sounding like this in 66, 67.
Because it was.
And he died in 1970. And he didn't get a chance to extend his catalog in the 70s, 80s, whatever.
Got what, 3 albums?
I think so, yeah. So, yeah. Would it be fair for me to say no one's better than Jimmy? Because he clearly was first. And I have more of an argument with him because he was so transcendent in the way that he was playing things, and things copied that decades later. But you can't hold everybody else hostage because something unfortunate happened and he wasn't able to continue on his catalog. If Jimmy would have made music throughout the 70s, imagine where his shit would be.
But it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
So we can't just, you know what? And we could look on the flip side too, LP. What if Biggie made a 3rd album and it was whack? That shit could have happened.
I mean, but it's like, you know.
It could have happened.
You know, like, but saying Jimi Hendrix is the best guitarist ever isn't fair to Prince for how long he wielded a guitar.
Exactly.
It's just not.
It's not fair.
Even if in a vacuum he's a better guitar player.
Because at that point, what it looks like is like, you know what? No matter what you do, you'll never get past this person that didn't live that long.
And that's not fair.
It's not.
It's not fair. It's just not
But
fair.
see, that doesn't work in any other craft, right?
It
Like,
doesn't.
so if we got a guy who played ball, right, and you went out there and got 2 MVPs, had an untimely demise or whatever happened, so that person is still going to be better than the person that went out there and got multiple championships and 4 MVPs and got more points than him, did everything more.
I'll tell you what. You know how I feel about Grant Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when I look at the players today, like I say, if you were to move him a generation up and put him in LeBron and KD's generation and Steph's generation, he would be there with those guys if he was healthy.
Yeah.
That's what type of player he is. All time, he's not considered that way. Why, Mike?
Because he didn't do it.
He got hurt.
Yeah, it happened.
And it's just the reality
Penny Hardaway,
of the matter.
too.
Same thing with Penny. Love those guys. Like, people forget Penny made all NBA first team his second year.
Yeah.
At point guard. I want you to understand, it's like, no, guys who are like Hall of Fame point guards were still walking around, like John Stockton, Gary Payton, Tim Hardaway, who should be in the Hall of Fame in my opinion. These guys were at their peak, like running around, and he made all first team all NBA over them, including a slew of other guys like Rod Strickland. Who else? I'm missing a few guys, but yeah, he came along in a time and made all NBA first team like immediately.
In a vacuum, knowing what they can do. We're talking about health and everything being there, injuries not a factor. I'm drafting Penny Hardaway over Chris Paul.
Me too.
But I'm not going to sit here and argue that he's better than Chris Paul overall because he's not.
I don't think you understand. It's like a prime Penny, like, only person I'm definitely taking over him is Magic.
Yeah.
Rest of those guys, it's fair game. It's like I'm taking him over Jason Kidd and Gary Payton too.
And with that being said, that would be how unfair would that be to Chris Paul's career for me to say that Penny's better than Chris Paul? He's not.
Man, Penny would dunk all on Gary Payton and Jason Kidd and all them dude. He would, if he was healthy, would have ruined the same way Magic did everybody.
Yeah. Esquire with the super chat says, y'all are misinterpreted. I love Q, Big, and Jay. We're splitting hairs. My point is your logic is slightly inconsistent. If we're putting a premium on insight and pro-blackness, you can't rate Kim over Kendrick. I knew Esquire was going to go to Kendrick route. We can discuss that later, too.
What has Kendrick done for black people that's so pro-black?
he got
I'll wait
songs
for
about
it. No. I'm going to say, see, this is what I'm talking about with Ice Cube. I said when you go listen, I'm going to say it slow again for people. When you go listen to the music, and then you go look at the person in real life and it matches up, we have to be consistent. What the hell Kendrick do other than make To Pimp a Butterfly? Like, Ice Cube is really out here living this America's Most and Death Certificate life for 30 years.
Yeah.
Kendrick made To Pimp a Butterfly and acted like it didn't exist anymore. Stop that. And Lil' Kim has done more to empower black women than Kendrick has ever done to empower black men. So there you go with that. And probably has employed more black people in the process. Hello. Message.
LP with the super chat says,
all that pro-black shit be talking about with Kendrick. Mike, I get so sick of hearing that. What pro-black community work this nigga be doing? Am I missing something? For real. What black man do you know that Kendrick's empowered? I know a legion of women our age that felt empowered by Lil' Kim as black women.
No, I think that Kendrick's inspired a whole generation.
I ain't say that. I said empowered, not inspired. Inspired is what makes you pick up a pen and write or paint or draw or do something creative. Empowerment is something that shifts the culture and the navigation of our existence here.
Okay.
Lil' Kim's done more for this culture than Kendrick. Stop that.
LP with the super chat says, Big ran the game from the moment he dropped. I don't know if that's true. He ain't have nothing to be anti about. Cube and Jay played in the beginning. Hold on.
How did he run?
Cube and Jay got played in the beginning. Excuse me. Big ain't lived long enough to be jaded. He's being knocked for not living enough. Okay. Let's rewind this because there's a lot of falsehoods going on.
First of all, Biggie's album dropped a few months after Illmatic, so he didn't run shit. That was also the year Snoop sold 4 million records because Doggy Style had just dropped. So not only did he not make the best album the year he came out, he didn't sell the most records. So it's like he literally has no claim to that. Like, you got outsold by Snoop. Illmatic's better than Ready to Die. Where did he come in running shit exactly now?
I don't understand how he doesn't feel like Cube didn't come in running shit. That's NWA. You didn't think Straight Outta Compton was running shit?
That's coming in and running shit. What are you talking about? That's coming in and running shit.
What are we talking about?
Like this, people understand. How about this, Mike? People made Tupac wait to release his second album about Ice Cube being around.
Exactly.
They're like, think about this. That's Pac. They're like,
Facts.
nah, you can't drop. They're like, he like, why? Ice Cube out here running shit, and we actually want to give you a fair chance. So you're gonna sit and wait for this Ice Cube shit to die down a little bit. That's why Strictly for My Niggas don't come out till 93.
Exactly. He's that big.
Because in 90, 91, and 92, it wasn't until Ice Cube made something that people felt wasn't classic, which is The Predator in 93, then Tupac drops.
So at what point was
cut the shit.
Cube struggling because
Cut the shit.
Straight Outta Compton hit right away, right?
Like
double,
triple, like immediately.
And once they found out that this man was leaving the group and going solo, all of that shit hit right away. Kill It Will and America's Most.
Yeah, America's
He had
Most.
no build up to no projects. Like, he's Ice Cube out the gate.
Think
If
about it.
anybody is running shit out the gate, it's Cube. Cube was
Hold on.
running shit out the
Hold
gate
on.
before Big
Hold on,
was.
and think about it. Mike, he's doing this without big hit singles.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like
Grassroots.
it's real organic and real pro-black. Like, really, in reality, it's not even stuff to really play on the radio. It's just great fucking music.
I remember in 94.
Like, he ran shit because he was making the best music, Mike.
We know Big was big, right? But I remember in 94, I feel like Flavor in Your Ear was a bigger record than the records Big had out at the
Because
time.
it was.
Until the One More Chance remix, which was 95.
That's 95.
Exactly. So if we're talking 94 and running shit right away, that's false.
You see how
He
people...
was a player in the game, but he wasn't the guy that we're talking about right now in 94. That's not true. He was one of the guys. Like you said, Snoop Dogg, if we're talking about an individual, was the guy.
If we're talking about an individual,
Yeah,
Snoop's the guy
that
in 90.
was the guy.
Listen, if we're talking... look, if we're talking about a song in 94, it's Flavor in Your Ear.
Yeah.
If we're talking about an album, it's Illmatic. If we're talking about an artist, it's Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
These are facts.
But see, you see how what they pull on the night of the Source Awards matters in history because people who weren't there see that Big won all the awards.
Right.
And that tells the story of 94, and it doesn't.
That's not true.
It's not.
It didn't happen like that. I told you I was at that. If Big was running shit from the jump, why he had a tent next to Big L in Summerfest in Charlotte in 95?
He was running shit from the jump. Why do we even get the One More Chance remix in 95? Why are we still getting singles like Who Shot Ya in December of that year?
I'm going to tell you why, too, and people forget this. It's like, man, he was still competing with Method Man. Tikal dropping in December of 94.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tikal dropped that year, too, and Tikal went platinum, too. Like, Ready to Die and Tikal's sales were comparable.
Stephon Young with the super chat says, Tupac, What They Owe is my favorite storytelling song. I feel like I missed the super chat from Zuri, man. Can we pull that up? Is there some super chats we missed, producer? Oh, I don't put nobody's name out there. I think it was one for Zuri. But yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%, man. It's like Flavor in Your Ear was the song of that year.
People saying Kendrick done a lot for Compton. He should. That's his hometown. Next.
John Wayne
Like,
said,
I'm not
I
giving
missed
nobody
his
credit
super
for
chat,
doing
too.
what I'm not giving nobody credit for doing what they're supposed to do. Like if you make it and you don't take care of your neighborhood, that's just something that we don't endorse or encourage, for one.
Yeah.
But when you want to talk about empowering this culture, you got to do more than make an album and then disappear for another 2 years and then never talk about the album again. There is nothing empowering about that.
You know what I
They're
mean,
like, the message is empowering. That's great. Does he stand by the message?
Is the message? Because we don't know what the message really is. You know what I mean? It's like it's whatever is left for interpretation because we don't have any interviews. And I've always said the most powerful part about, Tupac's legacy, in my opinion, is the interviews. And when you go back and listen to these Tupac interviews, you understand the music even more. And the music's just not rhetoric at that point. The man really believes
You mean it matches up with what he talked about in his music?
Yeah.
And he actually talked about it?
That's why interviews are important in hip-hop. And I'm not just saying this as a journalist, but for me, the entertainment side of it is the music. Correct. Now, if you really believe what you're speaking on the mic, that's when the interviews come into play and you can actually hear from the actual entertainer, the artist, the person who put this together. Where was your mind at on this stuff? What made you come with this? And you get deeper meanings behind that. With Kendrick, we don't get any of that. We just get the movie. We get the entertainment side of it. We don't get the actual real person behind the entertainment. That's a lot missing.
It's Mike, if all you get is the music, how do you even know if it matches for what his rhetoric is? Because
Exactly.
how about this? If he had a Biggie type rhetoric, I would be more okay with him being reclusive and not outside. Well, it's like, well, you really ain't talking about too much, and you're kind of giving me what I want right in front of me at face value. But the way he takes things and
Hmm.
where he takes things, and then how people take it, all I'm saying is that show me how it's empowering, because it doesn't appear to even empower him. Is what I'm saying. It's just a stream of conscious thoughts that he have, and it's okay to admit that, but stop making it seem like that it's, death certificate. It takes a nation of millions. Like, music with a clear, concise message for our community.
And backed by the actual entertainers that make it, and the artists that make it, and the
Heaven,
writers that make it.
heaven forbid that your lifestyle should match up to the shit you're talking about on record that's making you rich and famous. Heaven forbid.